Now, creation is very important because until and unless you don't create something in English, what is the point of learning it? No point. Because creation leads to communication, either in the written form or in. Hello, everybody. How are you all? Hope you're doing great. So, welcome back to another session of learning English and improving your speaking skills with me. And in today's lesson, I'm going to address something that is very important. That is important for your everyday practice. Yes, everyday practice. That is how to practice English every day. How to practice every day in order to maximize the result, in order to maximize the kind of results you're getting for your fluency and overall improvement of your English. So yes, today's lesson is going to be extremely important because it is important to practice every day. And that is one question in the mind of each and every person: how to practice every day so that they are able to improve English, how to bring variety into the practice, and it can create a lot of confusion. So let's start with today's session about how to practice English every day. Are you all ready for this? I'm Shivangi Gupta, your certified English language tutor and communication coach, certified by the University of Cambridge, the UK. Before beginning, please subscribe the channel so that you do not forget to check out any lesson that I post for you on the channel. Please like the video and share it with your friends too. So coming back to today's lesson, how to practice English every day. Now this is a very important lesson, and this lesson is going to be divided into two parts. When we say practice every day, there are two major parts: what to practice and how to practice. So that's very important to know what to practice. If you do not have any kind of basis, content to practice, then how are you going to practice it? So it's very important what to practice, how to practice. We will be dividing this particular lesson into two parts. So first of all, let's begin with what to practice. So let's start with the first part of this particular lesson, what to practice. So obviously, content is required to practice. Majorly, when you're practicing every day, we want something that can be easily practiced, that's easy to take up, because you have to manage it with your everyday tasks, other tasks, your life in general. You might be a student, a working professional, any other person, even if you're not right now a working professional, still you have your life, obviously, and you have to manage learning with that. You have to fit it into your schedule, daily schedule. So we have to do something where we are not burdening ourselves with the practice, with the learning. We are not taking it up as a task that we have to do this, we have to do that. Instead, let's keep it light. For that, I'm going to suggest you two things that you need to do. That is consuming content and then creating content. Okay? When you are taking up everyday practice, you have to take up tasks related to number one, that is consuming content. Always begin with a task where you are going to consume content. Now, how to consume content? Obviously, if you have seen my video of 2C rule, it's a very important video. You must know that consuming content means to read English, to listen English, that is engaging in receiving content in English. That means receiving information in a particular language, receiving the language. Because your brain must receive some information, some content in that particular language in order to be conditioned to be able to speak fluently. So our main goal, speaking fluently, depends on how much of quality content you are consuming. Begin with one task of consuming good quality content in English. It can be either in the form of reading, listening, or watching. There are three tasks involved. Either you can read something, you can take up anything to read depending on what you want to read. If you are reading a book, you can continue that for several days. It's a very good option to do that, right? You can take up any content to read. Otherwise, you can begin with watching something in English. Now, watching something means you are also engaged with the video, not just listening to the audio, but you are actively watching the video. Number 3 is you are solely depending on your auditory skills, auditory sense. That is, you're just listening to an audio without a video. So these are the 3 ways to consume good quality content in English. And you can take up anyone. Begin with one of these tasks and give 10 minutes to it. That means you have to begin with 10 minutes of consuming good content in English. So 10 minutes of consuming content in English. That's very important. Now, what to do after that? Once you are done with it, we have to move on to creating the content. Creation. We are consuming it so that we can create content. What is creation? Speaking is the majority creation task that you do in English, because what is a language? We use it to communicate verbally. Verbally, that is through our words, to the sounds that we produce. And that is what we want. Now, creation is very important, because until and unless you don't create something in English, what is the point of learning it? No point. Because creation leads to communication, either in the written form or in the spoken form. So yes, these are the 2 ways to create English. That is either through speaking or through writing. Now, because you want to become fluent in English, I would suggest majorly your focus should be on speaking while creating content. So 10 minutes of focused creation of content in English is required. Creation of content in English means what? To do your English speaking practice or your English writing practice. But as I suggested, that if you are focusing just on speaking, majorly on speaking skills, then speaking must be given more priority to, but do not neglect writing altogether. That's a request for you. So the second task that you need to take up is creating content. That is your speaking practice for 10 minutes. Next 10 minutes. So roughly you are giving 20 minutes altogether. So this is what we have covered in what to practice. Now I'm going to tell you how to practice. The part 2 of this particular lesson, that is how to practice every day. Now coming to the part 2 of this particular lesson, that is how to practice. How to practice every day. Well, how to practice every day is all about management. Believe me, what to practice is the content, the tasks that you need to practice. You need to practice in order to improve your English. Now, how to practice every day? I'm going to suggest some tips to you, 3 tips that I have in order to know how to practice it in a correct manner. You know the tasks, you know everything, but how to take up this practice in the correct manner, how to manage it properly, let's discuss. So the tip number one is to set particular tasks. Set particular tasks. Now, I have told you about certain tasks that you need to take up for practicing English every day. But you need to set particular tasks for every day. What kind of activity are you going to do in order to consume content, and then what kind of activity you are going to take up in order to create content, do your practice, speaking practice, for example. And for that, the example of tasks. What kind of tasks should I set and what should I do? For that, you have a very good example of this video, 5 goals to achieve for English fluency. 5 goals. Well, these goals are actually small tasks, small targeted achievable tasks that I have created for you, set for you. You can use these tasks, you can use some other tasks. If you are able to come up with new tasks, set them for that particular day. And you have to just take up 2 tasks, right? I'm giving you 5 tasks already. So try to mismatch all these tasks and try to set them according to your requirement for consuming and then creating, both. So there are going to be 2 tasks, right? And these are the example tasks. Take help from these tasks and set your task prior to practicing English. Prior to practicing, you can set them one day before. You can set them at the beginning of your day. As soon as you wake up, set those 2 tasks so that you can easily practice whenever your schedule, that time arrives in the day, you're able to practice it easily. Tip number two. Tip number two is to stay flexible. Now, what do I mean by stay flexible? See, there are going to be times when you might not get time to practice English, when you are not able to practice your English on the set time you have set for yourself. For example, you have set time for 7 to 7:30, but you might have to attend a meeting online at that particular time. You might require to go somewhere. Life is full of surprises. Your schedule can get disturbed because of some kind of immediate requirement, some kind of things that are happening in your life. What to do? Should you neglect practice altogether? No. Stay flexible. If you're somehow missing the time on practicing English on that particular day, try to manage it. Try to manage that particular time. Maybe reduce some minutes. Instead of 10 minutes of one task, do it for 5 minutes. But the thing is that you do not have to give it up. Give it up altogether. Manage it. Do it just before going to bed. Manage few minutes from your whole schedule, from your time, and then practice it. Because if you start giving up this practice every time you're required to do something else, maybe a work commitment, maybe some kind of personal commitment, then you're not able to practice every day because you have an excuse, and you start using that excuse every time you're faced with the same situation. So that's why stay flexible. I know setting a particular time is important, but somehow if you're not able to practice on that particular set time, practice at another time slot of your day. Whenever you get time, just practice. Tip number three. Tip number three is to track your tasks. Track the completion of the tasks. Now, this is going to help you stay consistent, because when you're tracking the tasks, you're ticking the checkbox whether I have taken up this particular task or not for that particular day. This will help you stay motivated, and because you have to check mark whether you have taken up the task or not, whether you have completed the task or not, you are going to stay consistent and practice English every day. You will be yourself motivated to practice English every day. It's basically a form of evaluating yourself and motivating yourself to do the particular task every day. Every day, because you know what? You know that you have missed a task if you have not just tick that check mark, tick that box of evaluation of that particular day. You will at the end of the day feel guilty somehow that you have not practiced, and this guilt will help you stay consistent. So because you do not want to prove to yourself that you have somehow missed it or you're not able to do it, because it shows some kind of weakness. So according to human psychology, we do not want to show that kind of behavior, weak behavior, even to our own selves. That's why tracking your particular completion of task would help you stay consistent, because you would want to win from yourself. You are your own competitor and you want to win. That's why you are going to practice every day. So stay consistent through this particular activity of tracking your task completion. So that's it. That is it. What to practice, how to practice. We have covered both the things, because it is important to know what to practice, and then it is important to know how to practice it. So today in this lesson, we have covered it all. How to practice English every day. How to practice English in order to improve your fluency. I'm sure you're going to take up the task of practicing English every day. It's going to be helpful for you. Now I'm going to meet you again in a new lesson. Till then, everybody, take care, keep practicing every day, and bye.